My name's on the podcast, so I thought I had to.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about anybody.
This is Kelly Wentworth from Survivor San Juan del Sur, and you're about to listen to one of my favorite sources for all things Survivor. This is Survivor Talk with D&D. So find your flint, grab a bag of rice, and all your fishing gear, and let the bartering begin. Take it away, D&D.
Hello, everyone. I am Dwaine.
And I am David.
And we are just two best friends talking about the show we love, Survivor. And tonight we have with us a special guest, a very familiar guest, People Magazine editor, I believe.
Senior writer. No, I'm actually a senior writer. No, I'm a senior writer.
Senior writer. Okay, all right, here we go. Let me say it. People Magazine senior writer, Steve Helling. Hello, Steve.
Hello, how are you?
Doing very well. So glad I could mess up your intro.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
It doesn't even matter. So.
Yeah. Steve, you're looking mighty nice tonight with the blue headphones, blue shirt, blue walls. Did you have your wife paint the room for you tonight to match your clothes?
Yeah, that wasn't going to happen. But I do have a white room. I do have a red room. So we can, if I could have done this in any number of places to make it work.
Nice. So you live in a very America type of house. Red.
I
white.
suppose I do. That's true. I should have hung up a flag or something. So.
Yeah, that's right. David, how are you doing tonight? David is not listening
Obviously,
to us.
Not
David
too good.
cannot hear us or something. He just totally did not answer me.
David, are you there?
He's looking at the screen very...
I had to change my headphones because Dwayne's big voice was coming through my QuickTime. So I had to change my headphones so he wouldn't yell at me later.
Oh, okay. So I asked David, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, but y'all should know that we're being watched. In the chat room, there was someone there that thinks he might be Steve Helling, but he's no Andy Baker, and his name is Andy Baker.
Oh,
so,
hi,
just
Andy.
so y'all know.
Yeah, we had Andy on just a few weeks ago. So, and we're going to have both Andy and Steve on before the next season to evaluate and analyze these players for Survivor Second Chances. But tonight
Although,
it's
because T-Bird's not on it, I don't really care.
Yeah, really.
Sorry,
That's all right. Tonight is all about the finale and a little bit of the reunion show, and so that's what we're going to talk about. We are live on our website. People are in the chat room already chatting. I'm watching Twitter. You can hashtag STWDD to get your thoughts and on the air, or you can comment on YouTube. And it is now time for a very special moment in the Survivor Talk with D&D podcast world. David, are you listening?
Yes.
I would like to honor David because David is so much better than me in predictions, fantasy games, everything that has to do with predicting Survivor. So, David, this is for you. All right, David, you get your next pick for the horrible named cholera. This poor tribe.
Oh.
All right.
I'm going to have, like, body sores all over them.
My next pick is actually my second pick in the draft. Your two picks were like 5th and 6th for me.
Awesome.
Yeah. So my next pick is actually my winner pick.
Oh.
Yes, my winner is from the Blue Collar Tribe.
Oh, I hope it's the
His
same
name
person.
is Mike.
I have the
Mike,
same one!
wow.
Yes, I have him too.
He is way down on my list.
I have him too, David, number one.
Okay, Dwayne, you can sign off at any time. We'll just finish this podcast.
Yes.
We'll take the angels
With
singing in the
DK.
background. Every time we have the same pick, the angels start singing in the background. It's awesome.
Look, Daddy. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets her wings.
Every time we make the same pick, the angels sing.
Okay.
I like Mike. I like him on that tribe, and I
Yeah.
like him blending in once the merge gets around. In fact, I've got a couple blue bloods, is what I was about to call them, making it through past the merge. So I think that could get him there, and then I think he has a chance to win.
Wow, so
Yeah.
you have picked Mike to win the entire game.
I have, yes.
Wow. Okay. Kelly?
Yeah,
Oh, you also
I
picked him to win the
did.
game.
Yeah, I did. After his Gordon Holmes interview, I felt a lot more confident about him. I liked him more than what I just saw from his TBS video. So.
What I like about him is him getting to the end with some really smart, talkative, outspoken people, and people voting for him instead of the people that knocked them out. Him not necessarily being the one that stabbed everyone or lied to people, but him going to the final with people that did.
So he's gonna pull a Sandra or what?
Yeah, as long as it's not me. He's willing to be the villain, but
Yeah.
I think he's going to see at Final 6, Final 8, hey, these people keep fighting, these people keep turning on each other. I'm just going to keep standing behind them, letting them take the brunt of it.
All right, so
My
congratulations.
brain can't take all that correct information. Oh
That
my
wasn't correct.
No,
It was about
no.
60% correct.
No, you got the prediction correct. You got the rest of it wrong.
But Final 6, Final 7, he would sit back and watch everybody else go after each other. So because he kept winning challenges.
Well, okay, he got that part right.
So I was 40% correct. As Steve rolls his eyes in his
You
best
didn't say a
Dan
thing.
impersonation.
You didn't say a thing about challenges. You didn't say it. You didn't say it. So.
Oh wait, no. Here's Dan. Just shake his head, mad. So, who did you pick to win everything, Mr. Helling?
Well, earlier on in the season, I thought it was going to be either Haley or Jen. And then, of course, once they were gone, the only person I could really choose was Mike. And the editing really, let's face it, the editing led us there. We kind of knew what was what probably around the time that Shireen got voted out. We knew that the way it was being edited and the excitement that Jeff Probst had before the season meant that we probably weren't going to see a Will or a Dan or even a Rodney win the game. So,
right.
And I would have been happy with Mama C there near the end, but Jeff Probst wouldn't have been, so I knew it couldn't have been her.
Right. Plus, Mama C started really pushing to get on second chances about 2 or 3 days before the finale, so I was pretty confident she didn't win. But did you make a preseason pick? Were you thinking Jen or Haley preseason?
No, I didn't make a preseason pick. I did think that more likely than not, Blue Collar would do the best of the three tribes, but I don't tend to make a pick, partially because it does kind of screw up my exit interviews if I think I know who won. So really. and I think I've told you this on the show before. One of the contestants who was on Blue Collar was somebody who I recommended to casting who made it onto the show.
That is right.
So therefore, and that was Lindsay, and so therefore I didn't want to guess.
Right. All right, well, I have a couple of initial thoughts over this 2-hour premiere and a little bit of the reunion. Don't cross CBS or Probst because they will get the last word. Just if you're ever going to play in the future, don't make him mad because he has, control. That's all I'm going to say. All right, good advice from Dwaine. David, do you have an initial thought?
Yeah, I was actually onto something with my random pick from one from each tribe to make the final tribal council. I mean, I really didn't think it would be one from each, but I threw out my favorite from each, which you did not include in that little montage, but I'll just bring it up. Of course, I was way off with not picking Will. I liked Carolyn. I didn't think she was there, and of course I picked Mike. But yeah, as soon as I got to the end, I'm like, wow, who really saw it was going to be one from each tribe?
Yeah. I have another one. I want to go to a live finale. I now have the bug. So I tell you what, I would love to go to season 31's live finale. That would be absolutely amazing.
It's already sold out from what I'm told.
Really?
No.
Oh.
So many
I would
returning
love to
players.
go. Man, I would just absolutely die to go. It's just the finale show. I just think that would be great. So
I have to share this with just because I'm such a name dropper.
Yes.
I was supposed to go, and at the last minute I couldn't. And so I got a text from Aris Baskauskas who said, "Hey, look who's sitting next to me," and he had my name was on the seat.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be sitting next to him, and here I was, 2,000 miles away. I was like, oh, it kills me.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you make it out to LA, and I would love to hang with you at one of the finales. Next season. So.
That would be a blast.
That was my first comment actually in my notes, was that I love the live studio feel because it feels like we're all watching it together.
Yes.
And I like that a lot.
Yeah. And nothing is better than watching the final immunity challenges with a crowd of people who are really invested in it. Yeah, it's fantastic. You do need to do it before you die.
The second best is chatting with people who are overly excited about it. So that was pretty fun too.
Yeah, and I was
That's
2
a
hours.
Distant second.
I was 2 hours behind y'all. It was very frustrating. So, I saw a Dan shut up text, and I went, "Oh, great! What's Dan doing?"
that was like every 2 minutes, though.
No. All right, so Steve, I don't know if you know this, but my dad does not like the show Survivor and makes fun of it whenever we talk. Now, he makes fun of it in a fun way. He's just picking on me. So they're here for my son's graduation, for my middle son's graduation. I said, guys, you came on Survivor finale week, so Wednesday night, and when I get home from church, I'm watching 3 hours of Survivor, and Thursday night I'm podcasting about it. And Thursday afternoon I'm watching it again, all this kind of stuff. And Mom goes, "Oh, well, we'll just watch it with you." And Dad goes, "Well, I got a book, so I can read the book." But I want to tell you something. My dad.
Survivor's not a show you want to watch with somebody who's not a fan.
Oh, but my dad reluctantly watched and got into it and started having legitimate questions during the episode, and every once in a while would be just excited about something. I think I might have gotten him hooked.
But the problem isn't that like watching football with somebody who doesn't watch it, and so then they're asking you questions like, now what do they do? I'm not going to answer your question right now. I'm watching my show.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, occasionally, like whenever Dan was, I know I'm jumping 2 hours into it. Whenever Dan was doing his vote, hitting the thing, my dad goes, "Gosh, there's a producer over there going, bang your head on the table."
Oh, your dad's probably right. But.
Yeah. So, all right, do y'all have any other initial thoughts before we get into the show?
No, this was weird for me because I was actually at work last night. And a guy, the contractor that was doing the upgrade at our location is also a Survivor fan. So whenever I go over there to talk to him about work, we end up talking about Survivor, which is awesome. And so it's like coming around 8 o'clock, and he comes by. I'm sitting in my office while he's out there working. He'll peep in and say, "Have you turned it on yet? Because we are watching, right?" I said, "You're working." He said, "No, it's running. It's running by itself. We'll watch it."
It's the worst upgrade ever.
So we watched until the end of the first immunity challenge, and then he was done. So then I had to take off home. I get home. Gracie's got the remote up ready to stop it. I said, "No, I want to watch it live because I want to hear a live reaction, so we'll just skip." So I actually missed a section in the middle of the 2 hours, but got back in time for the fire burning challenge. So I did miss a chunk. Yeah. But it was neat, and then watching the live reunion, that was neat.
Right. Mm-hmm. It was fun watching it because my wife was in there. My wife's a big fan, and my mom and dad were actually having fun watching it. So I have a question for y'all. Well, Steve, you didn't say anything. Did you have anything?
No, I mean, my problem is when I was watching it, I had a story due about who wins. So right. I'm kind of recapping it as it's happening. So I missed some of it just because I'm writing as I'm doing it. So I will probably watch it again sometime soon.
Yeah, Mike won.
Oh, okay.
In case you missed
it. I need to make a correction on people.com.
You might want to change that. Oh, by the way, thanks for mentioning us in your people.com article, last week, about Kelly. And yes, Kelly's on. All right.
Kelly.
All right. Do you agree with Carolyn's Day 39 statement? This was a season of gamers. Do you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Steve?
Do I just have to say one word, like yes or no?
No, you can. No.
Okay. Yes.
Took the easy way out.
I mean, sure. You could argue that any season is a season of gamers. Maybe they're not good gamers, but they're gamers. I don't know that there was a lot of swinging for the fences this time like there was in Kegging On. But,
Right.
yeah, we saw some solid gameplay. I'll give it to Rodney. Had some good, solid plans.
Yeah.
There are some other people that we weren't shown whatever game that they had.
Right.
And I talked to Sierra today, and she said, you just didn't see a lot of what I was doing.
Right.
So maybe that's true.
Yeah, I thought that Mike and Carolyn both had game from day one. Whether it was good or not was one thing or another. But they both had a plan. Both their plans changed. They adapted their plans. Some of their plans fell under the rug, and they had to come up with a new plan. And even Rodney, the guy that wasn't, the fan, didn't know a lot about Survivor, but got into it, worked, I thought, every day to get to the end. He was a little disillusioned in my mind, but still, even his failures were still plans.
Right.
So, she didn't say great gamers. She just said gamers, which I liked, and I appreciated that they played.
And I will give him this, too. Rodney got together, Rodney, Tyler, Carolyn, and Will, and they were going to be the final four. And three of them made the final four.
Yep.
He did a good job. He really did.
I kind of got the impression that she was implying that that this season had more gamers than previous, and I would say that's probably not true. I would say Carolyn was. I would say Shireen was after she got away from Max. Tyler was, but they didn't show us much of it. Mike was. Rodney was, and that's it. Those are the gamers. That's not a. Oh yeah, did I say Rodney? Yeah. So those are the gamers, and I don't really think, she didn't really have trouble until, well, if Mike hadn't kept winning immunity challenges, it wouldn't have been an issue at all.
So how many did you come up with? Did you count?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5.
So name me 6 gamers from San Juan del Sur.
Dude, I don't even remember their names.
I thought you said there were less this season than previous, so I was going by previous. I thought you were comparing it.
No, what I meant
Then
was she said
gone by.
No.
Okay.
Well, what I meant was she made it sound like the season was full of gamers, but out of 18 people, I only count 5. Is where I was going with.
You're counting past the merge.
Whatever. Just stop putting me on the spot.
I mean, here's the thing, and this is not meant as a spite to anybody who's been on Survivor. But every single year, I talk to people who've been on the show who say that it was the best season, they had the best cast, we have the closest cast, we're the Dirty 30. Look, no, you weren't always the best cast. You weren't always the most cerebral cast, whatever. It's fine. Believe what you want to believe. The bottom line is it's a TV show. And by the way, I just, as we're talking, got a note from CBS that basically says that, yes, Survivor is a top 10 show for the season. So,
yes.
Oh, I thought you were saying you had 3 tickets for next year's finale. Next season's finale.
For us.
Yeah, because they're watching the show right now. Yeah, hi, Jeff.
Yeah. Man, I'm just going to stay away from Probst. I don't want him mad at me. That's all I got to say. I do not want. He'll
bring up a podcast from One World and say, "You see how you guys sound?"
Yeah, he'd be like, "I got proof." What's with the Plantronic headphones? All right, so the show starts, and they're going to review the final 5. And Sierra didn't really have a good argument for herself. Basically, I'm keeping my options open, but if I'm going to win, I have to change the way I'm playing. It's day 37. It's time to change, or day 35. Time to change.
It said she hadn't offended anyone on the jury, but she actually voted everybody onto the jury.
Yeah, there you go.
So I would consider that.
Well, you can do that.
Offense.
Oh, we just lost Steve for a second.
He'll be back.
So he'll be back in a second.
There he is.
Oh, go ahead, Steve. What did you say, sir?
What happened?
We lost you.
I'm gone?
No,
you're back now.
Your voice is back.
Okay, I'm a little freaked out now, but no, all I was going to say is that not having offended everybody on the jury sometimes will work. So had she made the end with the right people, she might have gotten a good second place finish. Maybe she would have won. Who knows?
Right. Do you think she could have beaten Rodney?
If she were able to give a coherent enough jury a speech, maybe. Now we didn't really get to see their speeches, so.
Oh, I know.
Which but if she were able to handle herself with the jury, maybe.
I think it would have depended on Rodney's speech, because if he tried to claim a lot of stuff that he didn't do, then I think they would have raked him over the coals for it.
Yeah, possibly. All right, so then you had Will, who basically just said, I did what I could do. I switched alliances. That's either good enough or not. Nothing big there.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Carolyn. I worked hard, fighting tooth and nail. She has a viable chance. Rodney, I dominated socially. I am guaranteed sole survivor if I make Final 3, which I do not, which Probst showed last night, but that's not true. And then Mike, my back has been up against the wall the whole game. I'm going to take the bull by the horns and run with it. So those were the 5 people getting to tell us a little bit about their story coming into the finale. All right, you ready for night 35?
Mm-hmm.
All right, time for a little alliance chat. Right? Mike's like, really? They voted for her and they're off together again. He's like, we got to get Mike out. The final 4.
I don't know, when 4 people go out and 1 person is left behind, how much strategy talk can there be? Okay, now you're going to vote for Mike, and you're going to vote for Mike. I mean,
yeah, really.
All that needs to be said is pretty much, okay, we're cool with Mike, great.
Yeah.
But Carolyn, I was glad to see that she did stand up and say, you guys all of you just voted for me. Because they did try and flip the script on her and be like, why didn't you tell us you have an idol? And she's like,
right.
You voted for me. I mean, but they were still united and whatever.
Yeah, I called it the optimistic huddle. Rodney called, because, like you said, they're all hoping that one of them wins and Mike doesn't. But I liked, to me, it was just another reminder that Rodney just doesn't get all the aspects of the game. He is totally befuddled how she couldn't tell them she had an idol. Why didn't you tell us this so we wouldn't have tried to all vote for you last night? But at the same time, like Steve said, I liked how she played it. I still need them. I don't need them to turn on me. I still need that group.
Right. This is an example of Carolyn playing a good game these last several episodes, because she is playing both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of getting mad, like Dan would have gotten mad, or Will or some other people would have gotten mad if they got votes, she goes to them and goes, that's cool, we're all still 4. Right. But she also says, but I know where I'm at, so I've got to go get with Mike. So kudos to Carolyn.
Like she always had plan A, plan B, and plan C.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. All right, so let's get to the reward challenge. They're playing for a family visit, and we get to see emotional people, including Probst.
I hate the family visits.
Do you really?
I've never liked them, and in fact, somebody said to me today, you just don't like crying. I'm like, no, I've never even come close to crying with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not good with watching other people cry.
Yeah.
Well, see, every time I see the family visit, I imagine if I had one, and that's what gets to me. Seeing one of my family members come out. And
did you tear up, David, while you were at work? Did you have to get some tissues?
No, they were actually my coworker, who's not a fan. Who are these people, and why are they running out into the show?
And why aren't you working on the computer over there?
So he and I were both sitting. We both work for my company, so we were watching. But I just like it when it's. I don't want to get too far into this, but I don't mind the reward that came with the win and the advantage that came with the win to a degree.
I like that.
But I wish it was earlier in the season. I wish it'd been more. But I kind of understand why they only did now, because I liked how there wasn't the choice of who do you bring with you. Do you give somebody else their loved one, this, that, and the other, because of the win.
This time.
Well, because of the reward. I have a problem with the challenge advantage that was won, but I'll talk about that in a minute when we get to that point.
Okay. So basically, the only thing that I got out of this, I mean, I wrote stuff down, but Rodney's dad looked a little uncomfortable with Rodney being so emotional. It's like Rodney came out and went, whoa, what happened to my son? Where's your man card, boy? He did seem a little...
Too much hugging, yeah.
Yeah, too much hugging.
He did call him bro, which...
Yeah.
What's up, bro?
Dad. Yeah.
I think that's how they all talk to each other.
That's
But
Boston.
I think Rodney's been under the influence of this Dirty 30 because that's how they seem to treat almost every day when they come back from something. Good job, handshakes and hugs, and just.
Mhm.
Yeah, he did. His dad did look a little like, "Hey, what have y'all done to my son?"
But were we all not blindsided by this sudden revelation that he has found peace about his sister? CBS has shown us nothing about this, or even him dealing with it, except for early on he used it as a game tool. Not even, and now all of a sudden he has found peace with his sister, which is great. But I just kind of wish CBS had shown us a little bit of that in preparation.
That highlights something that was missing this season. I mean, this season there was some interesting stuff that went on, but we spent so much time on was this sexist and was this whatever and everything.
Yes.
We didn't have the character moments that we sometimes actually have.
Right.
Where, Lisa Welchel, who'd just gone through a divorce 10 days before she went out there, is sitting by herself crying and lonely and homesick, and we didn't get a lot of that, and we didn't get a lot of people working through things this time. Sometimes we do, and I like that. I think that humanizes these characters, and that's part of the reason why these characters were. And if any of you are watching, I'm talking about your character. I'm not talking about you personally. These were unlikable characters because we didn't know anything about them. All we knew is how they were competing in the Hunger Games. We didn't know any of their backgrounds, and that hurt it.
Right.
Yeah, even the letters that they got from the auction, that was interrupted by Mike, speaking up, and we hardly got any reaction from those letters. You had to watch the secret videos or the extra videos just to get that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, CBS focused more on the negative aspects than they did on humanizing anybody. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, I still enjoyed the season a lot, and I still would say it's been a very good season for me. I have enjoyed it a lot. So there was a few weeks where I was like, oh man, but overall, I've enjoyed it a lot. But I agree with you, Steve. That is an example of how we didn't get to know them and know some of the struggles that they were going through emotionally.
Yeah, they were so focused on the class warfare or the collar warfare that you're right. We didn't get a lot of personal from out of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So Will's wife Monifa comes on, and she is one emotional young lady. With her
I liked Monifa. I did.
Yeah. And then Will, I'm not dizzy anymore. I'm not hungry. Let's do this.
And did you notice that then they do I said this to Will today. They do the challenge, and the next thing you know, he's like in the challenge.
I know.
That's all it takes.
Probst is looking behind everybody for Will, but Will's actually in front of everybody.
Yeah.
He was the first one through the
He was the first one through the net.
Yeah.
That's right. They have to race under a net, play shuffle tile, play balance the tiles, play tile match. Then they have 6 chances to get the order right. The winner gets time with the loved one back at camp and an advantage in the next immunity challenge. So they play, and Probst says, Will is out of the gate first, and that is a first. Right?
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes, and then again, Will has not been in a challenge in a long time. The love of his wife definitely woke him up.
And there's part of me, if I were Will, that I'd want to turn to Jeff and be like, really? In front of my wife?
Really.
You're blowing up my spot that I sucked all season long.
Yeah. You're cramping my style, Probst. Now,
giving away a strategy of not being a threat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but apparently production, the challenge crew had a hard time finding something for the tiles to hit, and so they just went to the kitchen and found some cast iron skillets. It's like the redneck version of Survivor Challenge.
It was the loudest thing they could find for the tiles to hit.
You remember the good old days where everything kind of had a theme that it made sense?
Yeah, now there's a skillet.
Like a cultural theme, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's with the skillet? It didn't make any sense.
Hey, now, would y'all rather have seen a challenge with the loved ones where the loved ones competed with them?
I do like those, yes.
Here's the only times I like that. If you say with them, yes. I've never liked the ones where the loved ones are the only ones who are competing.
Those I don't like either. Yeah.
Because I don't care about so and so's wife or whatever. But I do like if they're competing together, then we get the whole teamwork between them, and that's kind of what saved Doherty that time. I mean,
Yeah.
So it could be great, but with a Final Five, they don't always do that. So.
Right.
Yeah, 'cause they did that in Caramoa and they did it in One World, and I enjoyed both those challenges. I thought it was really good. I love Cochran talking to his mom or his dad? It was talking to his mom.
Yeah.
Just, how was your flight?
Yeah.
As they're unwinding the pole.
Hey, Mom, we're not going to win, so let's just catch up.
Yeah.
But then a challenge like this, where the loved ones are there to watch, that's inspiring. So Cass, for an example, she would have never won that challenge had her husband not been there. And so I like them both, as long as, like Steve said, it's not the survivor sitting back and watching.
Right. I agree.
Now, another thing that I wonder is, being a Survivor fan playing the game, is this one of those challenges that because often we say when your loved one's there, you don't want to win the loved one challenge. Now, that's usually when there's more players in the game, because you don't want to be faced with the who you're going to bring with you and stuff. But this was an example of, heck yeah, I'm going to win this one.
Absolutely. The reward was too great to pass up. You weren't passing up food and a chocolate bar. You were passing up an advantage in the challenge.
Right.
Did Jeff? When did he say you'll get an advantage in the next community challenge? Was it before? I mean, when did we see him say that?
Yes, he said you are playing for time with your loved one and an advantage in the next immunity challenge.
Okay.
So yeah, because I wrote that down. Winner gets time with loved one and an advantage. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a challenge that you throw.
No.
You play.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not at all. Mike wins again, and to my surprise, there was no option of saying you get to pick one more person to have their loved one with them. Am I the only one who was surprised by that?
No.
How about you, Steve? Were you surprised?
It never crossed my mind.
Really?
They
always do that. But they always do that.
They didn't do it in Cagayan.
Okay, not always. You know what I mean.
Well, you just said always.
Okay, so. It's called hyperbole. Hyperbole.
It's called exaggeration, but okay.
I like
that's what hyperbole is.
I like it
to make a point.
He knows because he's a writer. But I like the drama that it adds, but it needs to be further back in the season and not towards the end. Mm-hmm. I'd rather it be like 7 or even 8. I know you're talking to a writer about words.
It was nice having you on the show, Steve. Thank you for coming on.
Well, that's fine. I have other things I can do. So.
Oh, man, come on.
Cut that podcast that used to be good.
Gosh. All right, Mike says, take your best day, add ice cream and a cherry on top, and that's what this day is for me. So, good for Mr.
And speaking about what we missed this season, I would have loved to see more interaction with Mike and his mom and the rest of and I know we didn't have a lot of time, but, the one thing I do like is when a loved one comes back to camp and they're like, oh, this is where we sleep, and this is where we do this, and I learned how to do a fire, and that type of thing makes you connect with the contestants more.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's funny, though? Because if Rodney had won, he would have been, all right, Dad, this is where I sit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where I sleep for 12 hours a day over there.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they make the fire. That's where they get the wood.
This is where I'm sitting when they bring me food.
No, but you're right. But did you notice that when they get back to camp, it's like everybody embraced his mom. Mm-hmm. This is where the queen sits and stuff
this
like
was
that.
an ugly season, but I don't think these were ugly people necessarily, and I don't think anybody was going to be mean to somebody's mom.
Oh gosh, no.
I just don't get that vibe from anybody.
Well, she's also fresh meat. She's somebody new to talk to.
Right.
She's a new personality.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think they would have been mean to her, but the opposite would have been just to not really interact with her, But they made a point to interact with her.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I'm saying.
I thought we'd seen that most seasons, that they usually interact with the one that comes to camp.
I mean,
I'm just gonna be quiet today.
No, I'm just, and like you said, nobody had. frankly, if you were these people and all you've had to talk to are these other people,
Yes.
I don't care. You could bring Roseanne Barr in there, and I would sit there and talk to her for hours.
Nice.
I think we're safe. I don't think she's listening.
I don't either.
That was funny. Of all people, Roseanne Barr.
I was just thinking, who do I not like? And that
Okay.
was the first thing that came up.
All right. So I would talk to Roseanne Barr about Sleepless in Seattle. That's what I would talk to her about. There you go.
I would think you'd rather talk to Rosie O'Donnell about Sleepless in Seattle.
Oh, I feel like
Oh, I was so confused.
I know! Steve's picture is still frozen to me, but I could tell he was confused.
I was like, why are you talking to her about a coffee thing?
This is not my best night.
And he wonders why I keep winning challenges.
Yeah, this is not my best night. Oh my gosh. That reminds me of the scene in Notting Hill when he says, "You were great in Ghost." And she goes, "I'm sure Demi Moore was great in Ghost." All right.
Okay, well, I wonder if we can get back to the road that we were just on, or if we're going to be on this rabbit trail forever.
No,
So,
we're not.
no.
So sounds like they were all enjoying her being at camp, and he made a couple comments to his mom. It's rough. There were a couple of days no one even talked to me, and I'm out here by myself. And I just really thought his mom was awesome. You know,
Well,
it was all about him.
I think that's the essence of the reward. Yeah, because he gets to talk to somebody freely.
Right.
He can say anything he wants, and she's going to listen. She's not going to tell anybody. And I love that part of the reward. You get a moment to just unwind and relax. And to me, that's just as good as anything almost. Better than food.
You know, it struck me. We haven't seen a lot of times where the person who gets their loved one and really spends time with them spends the time explaining that I'm on the outs and things aren't good. You know, usually it's like, oh, I have an alliance with this person and we're going to do this and everything. Mike didn't have any strategy he could talk to his mom about. Basically, I have to keep winning, Ma. That's what I have to do.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. I just thought it was neat. You know, she changes into his shirt and his bathing suit and gets in the river with him. You know, I mean, and she doesn't really strike me as a lady who like spends a lot of time in a dirty river, and yet she's out there on Survivor and she embraces it. And I love what she said. It's all about him. It's all about him, and that is such a mom. You know, I mean, I love my mom to death, and that is such a mom to do that. Why are you laughing, David?
Just for clarification, Andy Baker says that Roseanne Barr played in Survivor China, went by the name Jean Robert. So.
Why is Andy not on the show? I don't understand.
I don't know. Well, we just had him a couple weeks ago, and he exhausted all of his Dan talk then.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, we're going to get into Dan, I assume.
Oh, yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. Which is the main reason. You're like tolerating the recap so you can get to the Dan part.
I tolerate. I'm enjoying it. So.
Day 37, Immunity Challenge Advantage.
All right, here's where I want to spill my part. Thank you, Dwayne. I'm just going to cut you off like Probst did to Shireen. So I just want to this is where I think they missed an opportunity, because they before they told Mike the advantage he won in the challenge, they should have offered him the chance to offer one more person their family member, and in doing so, that would give them the same advantage, which he probably would have turned down. I don't think he would have given anybody else a chance to get an advantage. I did not like the advantage in this challenge because it's a Final 5 and a Final 4. I don't like advantages in those challenges, so I wish they'd done this differently, and they would have sent the loved one to the maze, and the loved one comes back and explains it as best they can. Mike should have never gotten to go to the maze. I thought that was way too much of an advantage. He basically walked through it, and I showed y'all that picture earlier, that I thought there was a key to this maze. There's like a key to this. And to me it was the double boards. If there was a board beside another board which made the railing wider, that was circling the target. So if you look at that maze, all the medals, all the medallions were in the middle of double boards. If it was a single board rail, you weren't working in the area of a medallion or the immunity necklace. But all the double boards, side-by-side boards, were circling the targets. I thought that was kind of interesting. I wonder if she pointed that out or told him about that.
That's interesting. I mean, yeah, we tolerate the fact that he got he got this advantage because it's Mike. I think we would all have been crying foul if it was somebody else. I don't like advantages and challenges so late in the game.
I agree. Totally agree.
Well, I mean, okay, I don't agree with y'all, but
Okay, well,
I mean, he blew through this challenge. They were cheating, and they couldn't get more than 2 medals to themselves.
how were they cheating?
No, not cheating. They
No,
were
they
helping
weren't
each
cheating.
other. They weren't cheating. They were helping each other try to find the medals, and they still couldn't catch him.
yeah,
I just also happen to think he's super good at challenges. You know.
yeah. Well, yeah, and Rodney looked like he wasn't even trying the whole time.
Rodney is one of those people, and we see him every so often on Survivor, that he's built like he should be able to be a good challenge competitor. And yet, when they decided to get rid of somebody at Final Five, they didn't get rid of Rodney because of his challenge strength. So,
Right.
Rodney's like, where's the hoops? Where's the football toss?
Right. Now, apparently, Mike's mom didn't feel like she helped very well because, she's like, he'd never tell you that I let him down, but I'm here to tell you I did. So she didn't feel like she did very well. But you're right. He got through the challenge very quickly.
mhm.
And I think Andy Baker said if you look at the challenge, it's one of those maze things where if you always turn left, you will end up getting it. I don't know if I didn't double check him on that, but that may have been the case. But they wouldn't know that. They're blindfolded.
I mean, I think part of the thing, and obviously with a 30-minute advantage, he's not going to be able to memorize, how many paces and how many steps and where he's going to turn. But the things that they learn during that time is, what level are the medallions on? Am I reaching down? Am I reaching up? Am I reaching forward?
Mm-hmm.
And so all those things take a lot of time for somebody who doesn't know. For somebody like him who knew, okay, I'm going to reach straight out. If you watch, he always had his hands on the right level. He was just reaching towards it, and that the others were not because they didn't know what they were reaching for.
Right. So. And did you notice during the challenge, Sierra literally walked by the yellow medallions, and then she got a different color medallion later. But she walked past the yellow medallions.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, oh man.
That's just too much of an advantage. I don't know. I
you
love
really
Mike.
Think so?
I do. I think he got.
But he earned it.
He got the feel.
It was his reward.
Yes, he did earn it.
3 at least. It was for Final 4.
He did earn it, but I just don't like when they give its advantages and challenges that late in the game.
All right.
I hated it when they did it in Philippines for Malcolm. In the Final 4. So basically, if he won the challenge that he had the advantage in, he's to the end and wins the game.
Right.
Of course, he didn't. He ended up losing the challenge anyway. But I don't really care for it this late in the game.
Okay.
I'll agree with Andy. He says a spatial sense is what you're dealing with. I mean, because he knows how high the railings are, like y'all said. He knows how high to reach and stuff like that, and just getting an idea of how it's going to hurt, how far you can walk, how far from the north, south, east, and west to the next rail.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's a major advantage. I wonder how much he got to look at it before he put the blindfold on, because they were within 100 yards of it.
I bet he didn't.
He probably didn't get to go any closer, but he got and I guess they got the same visual look, but still, it's just a big difference walking into it blindfolded.
Yeah.
You know what is disappointing for them? Maybe I guess they got to see it on the TV show, but that challenge visually. Bravo to the challenge makers. That was a beautiful looking challenge.
Oh yeah.
And the players do not get a sense of that, of the scope and the beauty of that challenge. But very well done. Probst, if you're listening, don't be mad at me because I thought it was awesome.
So they were watching last night and they saw it and they went, "Oh, I wonder where that was."
Yeah. I don't remember that challenge. All right, back at camp. Oh well, Mike won. Yeah. Okay.
It's a shot.
That's a broken record. Go ahead.
Yeah, back at camp. My thought is, shouldn't Carolyn be on the block, right? That's what you're thinking. What the heck happened? And I'm going to tell you what happened. Mike controlled it. She would have been on the block if Mike had wanted her on the block. But Mike didn't want her on the block. He was staying true to his word, and he didn't want her on the block. Mike almost made, well, he did make the same mistake Colby made. I sure hope I'm right here. But to me, he made the same mistake Colby made, but it didn't backfire on him.
Okay.
There you go.
I agree. I think that Mike knew though that and he told me today that he kind of knew that anybody in that final five he had a good chance against. Just he was running numbers in his head.
Right. So Carolyn and Sierra approached Mike, it was just kind of sad watching Sierra talk to Mike. That was kind of sad. I felt bad for her. Because if I'm Mike, I'm going, yeah, you're just here because Carolyn and I are talking. But Mike tells her, I'm not writing your name down. And I like what he tells him. You might tell me that I got Final 3 and everything, but look, I heard y'all helping each other. I know that as soon as I'm available, y'all are kicking me off, so...
I think he made the right move according to the last few challenges because he's still got to win the last challenge. And if he doesn't make it, if they're smart. So the only person that's been close, unless it's an endurance challenge, the only person that's actually been close is Sierra.
Mm-hmm.
And as Mike told me, I said, why Sierra? Well, I mean, that's why you have me on the show, because I just talked to these people.
That's right. Yeah, that's fine.
And also you have me on the show because I'm famous in my own right. But I mean, I said to him, why Sierra? And he said, Sierra was good at puzzles. And, if there was going to be a puzzle, Sierra is the one who was on my tail, always getting close. So.
Right. And this season had a lot of puzzles on it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I mean, even the maze was like a puzzle, so the last 3 challenges had puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, we originally had you on the show because you were famous. Now we just have you on the show because you're our friend, and we enjoy talking with you.
The fame doesn't hurt.
And you're famous.
All right, so let's see. Sierra, I can be trusted, right? Rodney and Mike talking, and of course, Mike tells them the girls are coming to me saying you. Did it look to me like this actually ticked Rodney off? Like, how dare they?
Rodney was flabbergasted. Bro, who is going to vote me? I'm going to win this thing. Who is going to vote me off? He was flabbergasted, and to me, this is another moment where Rodney just doesn't realize that's part of the game. Yeah. If they're coming after you, it's a compliment. So.
Yeah. Am I the only one who didn't understand the girls are just kicking it to your fake right now? I mean, was I supposed to understand that?
No, I don't understand it. So
the girls are just kicking it to your fake right now, and Mike goes, "Yeah."
He's using the Dan method. Yes,
the three of us may not understand it because of generational reasons.
Yeah, probably so.
Or territorial reasons.
Yeah. All right. Then he says, "You have a better chance against me than Sierra, and I have Will's vote." All right. Tribal Council 1, you ready to get there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. How many head shake eye rolls does Dan do during Tribal? It's a drinking game for me, drinking Monster drinks.
I don't know how many he did.
I didn't count them.
Some of it could have been editing because we know that the editing was just anti-Dan this season. So,
he
maybe
probably
it was the
never
same,
did that.
It was probably the same eye roll, or it was CGI, or
It was the same one. It was the same eye roll head thing, and it was for something completely different.
They flipped it right side, left side, right.
It was actually pre-game, and they had all been talking about head rolls eye rolls and head nods, and they had all been doing it just for fun, and then CBS cut that one out and used it every time that they went to him.
And I'm trying to be as fair as I can be.
Yes.
In Dan's defense, yes, CBS does take things. I mean, the production does take things out of order. Whatever they do. I mean, one that crosses my mind is when Brenda was voted out in Caramoan. They dubbed her crying, her sobbing as she was walking out, or Judd when he did the scumbags thing. He only said scumbags once, but they replayed it twice. So how many times did he roll his head? I don't know.
Who knows?
Andy Baker says 63 size is what he has.
There you go.
I'm not a big fan of jurors who are look at me.
Right.
I like Eliza, but I didn't like all of her theatrics.
Uh-huh.
You know what? You're there to be quiet.
Right. I like what Mike said. Look, I like y'all, but I don't know if he said it here.
Yeah, I trust
but
no
he said, I can only trust me.
Yeah, he said it here.
Yeah. So, Sierra, I'm playing hard. I'm trying hard. Prope's like, you want them to not vote you out, right? Oh, man. Mike says they, with doing all this, so he's including jury people, it looked to me, have kept weaker players to keep to the end, but the only way I am able to get to the end of the game is to keep winning. Q will. That's right. If he doesn't win immunity tomorrow, he's going to be sorry.
Which was one of those things that when it was supposed to be two, Rodney or Sierra, that in itself would have made me, if I were Mike, think, maybe I do need to break up Rodney and Will.
Yeah.
I thought that, and I don't think Rodney was thrilled with Will's answer there either.
I don't think he was either. They showed us at least 3 or 4 times, and no, I can't go tell you which ones they were, Will being cocky about this kind of stuff. He was so comfortable with where he is in the game, which is the GOAT that everyone wants to take to the end, that he would say this kind of cocky stuff all the time. It just felt like it. I don't remember seeing a player doing this kind of stuff before.
Jervis did it.
Okay.
I mean, there have been a few who. Tyson did it. I mean, there's a few who.
Yeah, I could see Tyson doing it.
Who feel like they're in the safe thing, so they run their mouth. So.
You know the difference though between Tyson doing it and Will doing it? Tyson doing it, he may be doing it for some other motive that we don't know about. Will's just speaking what he's thinking. I mean, Tyson is a player. So, but I mean, I'm not.
Jervis is a better example. Jervis is like, you're leaving. Believe that.
Right.
Which I'm like, oh, shut up.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Right. So, well, everyone votes for Sierra. Sierra says bye.
There's so much for Rodney's social game because after 37 days, he still doesn't know how to spell her name.
Yeah, really.
So.
But he spelled it perfectly if it's Sierra from Blood versus Water.
Blood versus Water, yeah.
Well, that's what he was thinking if he had seen Blood versus Water. But
right. he protects his own mother. Rodney does. We find that out later. So maybe he just doesn't like anybody who would vote out their own mom.
Yeah, that's it. Day 38. Let's go right to the immunity challenge because that's what they did. And I'm telling you, I said to my parents, okay, they had to have gone through a medical check before even attempting this monster challenge because this was one heck of a challenge. I think I tried to pause it and count. I'm pretty sure there were 60 to 75 steps. That is a lot of steps.
Isn't that like climbing an oil rig?
It was high. That had to be 50 foot high.
It was.
Yeah. So they untie knots. They run up 50 feet of steps. They get a key. They slide down. They go through an obstacle course, which was climbing and dropping down and stuff like that. And then they get a bag, and they had to do that 3 times, and then they have a puzzle. I really love these in-game challenges that Survivor's been doing lately. I just like them a lot. So.
And the one thing I really enjoyed about this one is that it's not really that difficult of a puzzle in the fact, there are some. I would have been annoyed if it were a really tough puzzle, but it was enough of one that Rodney just couldn't do it because he was so exhausted. And I like watching people who are too exhausted to do something.
Right. Rodney was like, holes and pegs? Oh, come on.
Well, yeah, Mike even said it was later on. It was a tough challenge, but I'm like, this is kind of square peg in a round hole type thing that you. Yeah. It's not like you got to see a picture and figure out what the picture looks like.
Right.
Yeah. So Mike wins. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about during the challenge. Is there?
I loved it. I thought it was a great challenge.
Yeah. They added a few sound effects for Will's breathing.
No kidding. From all the way up the stairs. Of course, if Cochran had been in this challenge, all the bags would have been untied, so he just would have had to crawl through and pick them up. Well, that was his reward, I think, for one of his challenges.
So Mike wins. Carolyn was not as close as you might think. I think she still had 3 or 4, maybe 5 pieces left. But all of a sudden, Will has a moment. It's just like one of those, I am mentally and physically exhausted, and I'm about to cry, so I'm going to start saying stuff. That's kind of the feeling I got from it. So,
You
and
know,
then,
I asked Will today. Again,
oh, good. Tell us.
I asked him, because here's my thought. Is this a genuine moment, or do you just kind of, because Sandra one time said, I didn't have immunity, so I went to the person who had immunity and asked them what we should do. And there was part of me that wondered, okay, are we sucking up to the guy who has immunity? If that's, which is fine to do. But he said, and look, I even have my notes, he said, I was showing respect to a good player.
Yeah.
So I think it was probably genuine on his part. And it does kind of keep you do want to keep the guy with immunity happy. You want to honor him, so.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I absolutely think it was genuine, at least to 90%, because it was also, how do you fight frustration? By going the opposite direction. But at the same time, that was the last challenge, and you know what, the guy whipped your backside 5 times, and I think Will is one of those people that's, if props need to be given, he's going to give them, and it was a moment of release for him. I think the release that he actually completed all the challenges, he made it to the end of the game. He knows he's probably going to make it to the end of the game, and I thought it was pretty neat that they did that. We've never seen that before, but he wanted to put it on, and Perp's like, come on over. All 3 of you put it on, and they just celebrate for him together. Like, Mike, you earned it. It's all yours.
I also thought that was a really cool moment, and I think Probst even thought it was a unique moment. What I was specifically talking about was before they did that, Will is so physically exhausted and mentally and emotionally exhausted that he just, that Probst walks up, he's like, that Rodney says to him, you've come a long way since the beginning of this game, and then he starts to get emotional, and Probst comes to talk to him. And it just seems like that was an example of Will being at his absolute exhausted end. And then they go into now let's celebrate Mike.
Another type moment we didn't get during the season where we'd get to know people.
Right. So, Probst, well earned. I don't know if you caught this, but he told Mike, well earned, you are in an elite group right now. So.
Because of the 5 immunity challenges.
Right.
So.
And then I told Mike I would do it on the podcast.
Oh, no.
So it's time for the happy dance.
Oh, goodness.
Secure the camera.
All right, there we go. Mike does his happy dance.
I'm not. We didn't really see the happy dance. It's okay. I don't need to see it again. But I'm just saying, all we basically saw was running it.
Just leave it, Steve. Leave it.
Let's leave it at that. Let's just.
All right, whatever. Hey, I've been picked on enough tonight.
This is awkward.
Hey, it's the edit. Just
anytime you want to Roseanne McDonald through the edit, you go right ahead.
It's the edit, I'm telling you. Steve's being mean just because he's more famous than us.
I'm being nice. I'm just trying to be nice. So.
Yeah, really. I'm sorry that my being nice is no anyway. They must. Okay, I've already done all that. Let's see. Back at camp, who will I take to the end? And Carolyn follows Mike to the river to do her hair. Yeah. Why didn't she just say, I'm going to go talk to Mike? I mean, she might as well have. So, but anyway.
This is what I thought was Mike's last move, and probably one of his best moves, in that he puts her game in her hands. He could have easily gone with the guys. There's no way Rodney and Will are not voting Carolyn. They're going to vote, so either he joins with them or he forces a tie and gives the game to her. So if she loses, she goes out thinking that Mike gave me a chance to stay in the game. He could have easily voted me out. He gave me a chance to stay. He gets my vote. If she wins, she's still in the game. But if she goes, he gets her vote.
And you know that Rodney was going to vote for Will if Rodney gets. I mean, no matter
Absolutely.
What, if Rodney leaves, because Rodney and Will are tight. So it was kind of it was a way that Mike could gain a jury vote if it went one way, and he wasn't going to lose one if it went the other way.
Right.
So it was a smart move.
Right. Yep. So he tells her, you got to start practicing making fire, and she is not happy that she has to make fire. So.
Well, I mean...
it's like Pro said, you've been here 39 days, you should know how to make fire.
As somebody who's watched Survivor, this isn't a surprise. You're going to... You may be called on to build fire.
Right.
So.
Yep.
I could see it now. Of course, she goes off to practice because she comes back to camp and there's just roaring fire. There's nothing she can do. So she goes off. And all of a sudden, they're looking out in the woods, and Rodney sees a forest of flames. What's going on out there? Mike goes, I guess Carolyn figured out how to start fire.
You know what would have been funny if she had come back to camp. She go, I didn't know we had a fire going, and Mike had said, yeah, Rodney started it.
Yeah.
All right. Will actually made a good point.
Who?
But in this, Will did.
Okay.
But it didn't apply in this case. But he said, if you won $1 million, you don't bring someone nicknamed Mama. You know, and he actually kind of made a good point. But in this case, Mike, knew he was going to win it. So.
Well, he does have a good point there. But I think Mike knew that.
Right.
I think Mike knew the score at that point. And frankly, mamas don't normally do that well on Survivor.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah, this particular mama didn't have the connection with her kids that some mamas do, from what we've been reading and being told.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, not with the first few jury members. That was the impression I got.
Oh, you mean her kids, as in
Yes,
Survivor?
as in Survivor.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going totally personal. I was like,
No. On her Twitter, she's got pics of her kids all over the place. It's a great family portrait. No, I'm sorry.
Wow.
Her Survivor kid.
I was like, this is awkward. I don't want to be tabloidy.
Clarify for Carol. Don't take that out of context.
Yeah.
I was talking.
Steve doesn't work for the Inquirer, David.
No, I work for a respectable one.
Yeah.
Everybody called her Mama C, but it seems like we're getting word that she wasn't as close to the other castaways as a mama would be, type thing.
So what you said, just so we can make sure it gets. I'm just kidding. Headline tomorrow: David from Survivor Talk with D&D says Carolyn's horrible mom.
And I will tell you this: that Carolyn, I think, is one of those people who, and she told me that she wanted to win the game because she wanted to be the oldest woman to win and everything. And I think on another season, or let me say it even better, one bad immunity challenge for Mike and Carolyn wins this game.
That's right.
I believe it. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, Tribal Council, do you want to say anything before we get to the fire challenge? Anything y'all want to talk about?
Will had a shot to be arrogant again because Mike said it's Rod or it's Mama C. And Will's like, that's right, because it ain't me. I'm going with whoever goes to the end.
Okay, I'm going to give this to Will. And Will has only there are certain Survivor contestants who have a lot of different cards they can play. Somebody like Tasha from last season, somebody like I'm trying to think who are the ones that have physical, social, strategic. There are some people who have all these things to give.
Right.
If you're one of these people, and frankly, I don't know about you guys, but I know it would be me if I were playing the game, God forbid, I wouldn't have the physical card to play. And Will didn't have the physical card to play.
Right.
But, you have to exploit that and be like, I'm going to the end because, there have been times that people who've not been a threat have won the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he played with what he had. We all do. We do that in life, and
Right.
we do that in Survivor. So
Yeah.
I'll give that to him.
All right. So let's do a fire challenge. Talk about an epic moment in Survivor. I love it. And the jury was just beyond excited, especially the true fans of the game. Well, they were excited for the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, then for another 30, they weren't so excited.
Another 43 minutes.
Yeah.
I was disappointed that they didn't do the Becky Sundra thing and start giving them matches after an hour or whatever.
Oh, wow.
I think Probst had them ready, but they never got to that point.
Blow torches and gasoline.
So what was it? Was it 45 minutes long?
53 minutes till Rodney got the first.
53 minutes, and then they both got fire within 30 seconds. That's amazing.
And then Carolyn earned it because she built a better tower.
She did.
Rodney just threw sticks on it.
He went for a bonfire. She went
Yeah.
for a tower, yes.
He almost got it, though.
He did. He was up there.
Yeah.
Now, were my eyes deceiving me, or was there one point where it was a really quick thing, I didn't rewind, where it looked like his rope, or the thing holding the rope was actually on fire for a second?
Yeah, his fire was engulfing the stick that was on Carolyn's side of his stand. Yep. His inside. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was going to take the stick out instead of the rope.
But that's still that would have won.
Would have broken the rope.
Yeah. Rodney catches the whole area on fire except for his rope.
He's burning Carolyn's rope with his fire.
Oh, man. So Rodney was not happy about losing. You know, the whole whatever, you stupid piece of, you know, it was not.
And I give it, yeah, you've made it 38 days, and then,
you
know.
Yeah.
He's just got a little entitlement going there. I'm sorry. He still doesn't understand why Mike wouldn't send Carolyn home instead of him.
Right. Right. Simple things in life are the best things in life. Who said that?
You just did.
Rodney did.
Rodney.
Did?
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
10 minutes after he got voted off.
That was after Probst said, now watch how Rodney felt 10 minutes later. After he went through the redneck speech.
Yeah. 10 minutes. All right, day 39. By the way, Rodney went home, for those of you who didn't watch the show. They see a whale out in the ocean, and apparently they hadn't seen one for 39 days. That's pretty awesome. So,
a lot of things happen on day 39 for some reason. I don't understand that. It seems like that happens all the time in Survivor.
I think it was a CGI whale.
Mm-hmm. The whale was not edited very well at all.
And production told them to say, we haven't seen that in 39 days. They had no idea why they were saying it. They didn't know about the CGI whale. But anyway, speaking of seeing whales, a little bit of a rabbit. I'm going to be in Kissimmee, Florida next week. So if you're a Survivor Talk with D&D listener and you live around there, let me know and we'll say hi. But we get to go snorkel and watch the dolphins and manatee swim. That's going to be fun. So anyway, all right. Will says, "No, I'm so glad we get to do no more strategy and stuff." And I'm thinking, dude, you have a speech to prepare. There's some strategy left in this game, but I know what he means. But still. So.
Yeah, I wonder. Some people have been planning their final speech all along. Some people don't wait till day 39 to do it. So I don't know what I mean. And we didn't get to see the opening statements at all. If they even had them, I don't even know if they did them.
They did. Probst said that they cut them out. I think it was a redundancy thing when it came to the questions and stuff.
I still like the little, this is why I deserve to win because I did this, this, and this, and I'm ready to answer your questions.
Right. David.
Mm-hmm.
Can I stand, please?
Oh no.
Who did that? Little trivia. Who did that for their speech? Wasn't it Chelsea?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. I thought you were going to do another happy dance. So
no.
So Steve turned away.
I thought it was Steve went to eat a taco. I thought it was Chelsea that she goes, can I stand to give my speech? And Probst said, well, yeah, I guess. Okay. This is one of those podcasts where all my jokes seem to just lie on the floor dead.
Well, you weren't even sure if it was Chelsea. You should know.
Kind of like a dead fish of some sort.
They're like Will on a ramp down into the water.
You know what? We call a dead fish on my soccer team? Somebody's foot that doesn't work. Because we got a lot of right-footed people. I had one girl. Her name was Maya, and when she tried to kick with her left foot, it went nowhere she planned for it to go. So we called her left-footed dead fish.
Oh wow! Way to go, coach! Encourage your team.
Hey, by the time she graduated, her dead fish was a fighting shark. She got to use her left foot, so that was incentive.
Yeah. So they get to have a breakfast. I was a little surprised they didn't have a meal as soon as they got back, but they got a nice breakfast with some orange juice. Will decides it's early in the morning, but hey, alcohol's good early in the morning. Apparently. Got the wine or champagne or whatever. So, did you notice Mike said to Will, now I literally did start from the bottom. Did you hear him say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him making a comment about starting from the bottom.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, do you think they did the walk of shame or whatever? The whole remembrance thing and they just didn't show it?
I don't know. That's another part of Survivor I could do without.
Oh, I know. I know.
yeah.
So glad it wasn't there.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean
So
the
glad.
whole, especially because there's always somebody who was never on the tribe with any of these people, and they're like, oh yeah, she was pretty.
Yeah, the one time they have somebody from each tribe to begin
Yeah.
with, and they don't do
Yeah.
it.
Oh, who was that? Wasn't that the cameraman? I don't. Yeah. All
No,
right.
this whole finale felt so rushed. I didn't think we were going to get any fluff.
Yeah. Final tribal council, no final plea. So Joe gets up. Congratulations. I don't believe him, but he says I'm an open vote. You have to earn it. I still think they all went in there knowing who they were going to vote for.
They
But that's
generally
fine.
do.
Yeah.
And we know that these people go to production, or the production asked them, what are you going to ask? And that's what he had? He didn't even ask a question.
I'll tell you this. Sometimes production makes them change. I don't know that I have no knowledge about him. But sometimes production doesn't like a question and makes them ask another one. Way back in Pearl Islands, do you think Johnny Fairplay wanted to ask Sandra how she represented Puerto Ricans? No. He had something else to ask, but that's not what production wanted him to ask.
So they were okay with Sierra's question? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting too far. You go ahead.
Oh, well. So Joe's basically, I'm an open vote. You have to earn it. Will, man up. Mama C, show how you outplayed and outwitted. And Mike, you won necklaces, but what else? I don't know. It just, anyway. Then you have Haley.
It sounded like something Probst would say.
Yeah, it didn't
sound... Yeah, you guys got to man up and give your chances now, or your comments, because this is where it's going to count.
Right. Haley.
And the answer to you won necklaces, but what else? It's like, what else does there have to be?
Yeah.
You couldn't vote me out from Final 9 to now. So.
Yeah, what else? I won chocolate. I won food. So, yeah, I did win all that stuff.
I won America's heart. Whatever. You know.
Captain America.
Poor Haley. Unfortunate eye issue for Haley. I don't know what was going on there. But she had something wrong with her eye. I felt so bad for her. But how was the mom role a disadvantage, was her question to Mama C. Okay. Rodney? Best bud Will over there. Will, I knew I was going to be an underdog. I'm giving, and I have friends. That's all my game. You can't get here by luck. Yeah, you can.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Mama C gets to explain her plan A and contingency plans and stuff. Y'all feel free to stop me anytime you want.
Well, this was moving along to the pace of we got to build up Mama C's game, because obviously it's going to be a landslide, but we had to make sure that people think that Mama C has a chance to win. I actually like what she said to Haley in the sense that the bad part about being the mama is you guys don't respect me as a player. You think of me more as the older woman. So when it comes to this point, you say, oh, well, she was our mama, but she wasn't really a player.
Right.
You know, I didn't mind that question as much. It still seemed kind of not great, but I like the fact that it brought up the struggle of being that older woman character.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is that the older woman generally has trouble in this game, especially if she's playing with younger guys. And we look at Dawn and Cochran. They played the exact same game. They voted for the exact same people. Who had to take their teeth out in the middle of tribal council? Dawn. Because you expect that the 25-year-old is going to stab you in the back. You don't expect your mother to do it.
Right.
So.
Mm-hmm.
And Carolyn played a great game, by the way.
I agree.
She really did.
Yep. All right, next we have Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
What did you bring in a redeeming social manner? And apparently, I mean, this is where Mike's kind of like, apparently I thought I did pretty well socially, but based on how y'all are looking at me, I miserably failed. So, and I don't understand that, but that must be true. So I almost got the feeling it was kind of like he wasn't trying to defend himself. It was more like, wow, I didn't realize this about myself. I'm going to have to evaluate this.
I think Mike did a lot of that soul-searching type answer stuff, being honest. And like Joe said, be up front and tell the truth. And Mike's like, I thought I did this, but I guess I didn't. And if I didn't, then I'm sorry, but that's how I tried to play.
Yeah. What'd you think about that, Steve, about Mike's response?
I wish I'd asked him about it because I don't know. I don't know if that was completely genuine. Oh, maybe I suck. Maybe I'm not good.
Mm-hmm.
Or if he, figured out that that's what the jury wanted to hear at the moment.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, that's part of the game. Sure.
A lot of times people get all apologetic when they're not, or all whatever when they're not, just because they know that's what the jury needs to hear.
Right.
I think at the same time, Mike didn't have much chance to play a redeeming game after the auction because he tried and nobody wanted to work with him. Everybody just wanted to vote him out. So what was he left to do?
Yeah. Well, it's like Probst said, your damage was already done. You might as well have just taken the advantage because the damage was done already. So.
You do need to commit when you do something like that. You need to commit.
Right.
And he didn't. So.
Yeah.
So then Tyler tells Carolyn, look, I protected you for 30 days. And then here she gives those answers that you were just talking about. You were my most difficult vote, and I'm sorry, and things like that. She's not sorry. That's the move she was going to make.
I love her next line, though. Survivor makes you do things you don't feel good about, you're not proud of. But at the same time, if you don't do them, you'll be sitting on the jury.
Right.
And, and I love to bring these up. Everybody used to look back at in Pearl Islands and say that Lil did a terrible job in the jury, and she didn't. She actually was very good in explaining to the jury, and she said something that has always stuck with me. You either play this game or you go home. Those are your two options.
Mm-hmm.
And, Carolyn played this game, and she didn't go home.
Right.
So.
Yep. All right, David, why don't you handle Sierra since you've already alluded to it?
Okay. Dwaine, what do you like most about Steve that you would like to have as one of your characteristics?
He's famous and he drops names all the time. But I
do not
be as
drop names all the time. Now and then, I might tell you about golfing with Tim Tebow or hang out with Dolly Parton, but I don't want to do that.
But then you forgot the part about, but he does it so much, he does it offensively, and I don't want to be like that all the time. I don't want to collect.
Well, he interrupted me, so I didn't get a chance.
So I don't like that part of him.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Mike's work ethic, but I hate his approach. But Mama C was awesome.
I could see the jury just sitting there with production saying, we know who's going to win. I mean, there's not much. You want us to point out what Will didn't do, or do you just want us to be sociable?
Yeah. Do you get the feeling like Sierra watched this episode and went, that's the question I didn't want to ask, and that's the question you showed me. That you showed. Thanks a lot. Yeah. And then she looked at Dan and goes, I agree with you. It's all in the edit. All right.
Yep.
Another joke flops on the floor like a dead manatee. Jen addresses the jury. I love it when people do this.
I hate it when people do that.
I love it when people do this. I love it.
I'm a juror. Do not tell me who to vote for. I'm a grown person. I can figure it out. Thank you.
Well, no, I didn't say if I was a juror I would like it.
I
like watching it.
No, it's just like I plead with the jury. No, don't plead with the jury. Go ahead. Why do you like it so much?
Well, because it's fun to watch.
It's fun to watch.
Passionate. Like they actually let her say what she wanted to say. And it just felt like Jen, and I liked it. So there you go.
It was Jen,
but I liked it better than whenever Spencer did it. I did like it.
Yeah. I'm kind of on Steve's side with this. If you want to tell the jury what to do, then tear down the person you don't want them to vote for, or bring up something that they did was bad, and bring up something that you want the person to win that was good. But I don't know. I'm kind of the same way. It's almost like a wasted speech. It was a great speech, but it's almost like a wasted speech to tell somebody what to vote for when they've already made up their mind.
Yeah. Well, they all vote in Mike anyway, almost.
But it was Jen. You're right. That was Jen.
All right. So, Steve, why do you hate it?
I don't know. It's presumptuous that I'm going to tell you who to vote for in the jury situation when you have your own reasons why you're going to vote for people. I might say, if I were up there, I'm voting for so-and-so because of blah, 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 blah. But I don't know that I would make the next step of, and you all should do it too. I don't know.
Yeah, because Rodney didn't follow her directions.
That's a shock.
I really think she influenced Dan, though. I really do. Really.
Was his question next? I get confused. Yeah, his question was next, right? Because he's like, how am I going to follow that?
I have to follow that? Yeah.
Like, no, you really don't. You don't have to ask questions.
Yeah.
Just sit
Mike.
down,
Oh
it's fine.
Mike. All right. So basically, the one thing about Dan is he is definitely melodramatic. If you want to say one thing about Dan, he is melodramatic. There's other things I'm sure that you want to say about Dan.
I didn't completely agree with his comment that Mike didn't care about the jury because, in fact, I thought Mike built the foundation of the jury by befriending the 4 people that were the first 4 people there.
Yeah.
And if they're there the longest, they're going to be campaigning or talking about, who they like. You're really going to have to convince them to change their minds. But I thought that Mike did a pretty good job building the jury instead of just forming the jury.
Yeah. So then Mike apologizes to Dan.
After Dan walks back to this seat.
Then Dan wants to go back up. That finally was real.
Did you get the sense that he was actually going to say, he might say something else, almost like a movie scene?
I can't disagree
Dwaine,
with you.
what you just said has to be the most intelligent thing you've ever said before. You had no idea which way I'm going to go with my last line.
I sort of have post-traumatic stress because I don't remember much about that. After he got back up, I don't remember what he said.
Well, then you missed, maybe, if we're big enough, if we're man enough. That's what I mean by the melodramatic. It's like, maybe we can be friends again.
And you know what? They cast Dan for that role.
Yes, they did.
They did.
Yeah.
They sure did.
The betrayed
All right.
friend, yep.
Then we get millionaire Shireen, who...
Yes. Well, that was unfortunate now that every single person in the green room watching that is like, sitting in the green room deciding whether they're going to play with Shireen or not next season. Now knows that she made... And if she made her first million at 25 and she's 31 or 32, if she says my first million, does she have more?
But seriously though, everybody that watched this season and knew that she was a Google exec and now a Yahoo exec and was behind Google, I had no doubt she was a millionaire.
Right.
No doubt at all. So,
but
I think she was safe to say that.
I guess.
So, anyway, but she said stuff before that. But anyway. I like what she said. Mike's moment was better than my first million.
Mm-hmm.
Mike rescuing me. So, all right.
Yeah.
You don't have anything to say about her before we get to, or you can even talk about the animal stuff.
I mean, the dead fish, I don't even remember what the others were, but the dead fish will always stick with me.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point now, after 30 seasons, watching these jury things, it's almost like, sometimes I wonder, are you just trying to write a speech that you will be remembered for? Is that the whole plan? Because we've seen you're a dead fish, you're a rat, you're a snake, you're whatever. I didn't feel like it was the best jury speech I'd ever seen. It didn't affect me.
Yeah.
And I don't think it affected Will. I don't think Will sat there thinking, "Oh gosh, I did really feel it." No.
No.
I thought it was good. I thought it would have been better if it hadn't been done 29 seasons ago, but I thought it was pretty good. But I'll be honest, final tribal counselors are no longer my favorite thing in the world anymore. Because like you said, now that we know that many votes are already mentally cast before they even get there, we know that some people are trying to be memorable in final tribal, and it's just... I actually got more from the 3 than I did from the jury because I thought Mike was trying to be totally honest and redeeming. I thought Carolyn was trying to point out her game, and Will was just trying to get to say something to prove that he was there. But I don't know. I liked her speech, but the whole final tribal I found was very disappointing. The jury, I was disappointing in that.
And somebody online I've seen has always said, their least favorite jury question is, my question is, you're an idiot, which is basically what she said. She wanted to give it to Will. She gave it to Will and everything, but she'd already done that. She'd raised her hand and not let him get a family visit. So hearing her unload on him again, we saw that already.
I don't know. Over the past few seasons, one of my favorite final tribal council questions was, if you were a voter between those two, who would you pick? I actually liked that. I thought that was pretty neat. That worked in Tyson's favor, I believe.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You lost me partway through that. So, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. You hear me now?
Yes.
I was just saying that one of my more recent memorable questions that I actually liked at a final tribal was Blood versus Water. It was the one where they asked, I forget who asked it, but they said if you were voting, who would you pick between the other two as a winner?
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting.
All right, so they vote, and Mike wins. There you go. Congratulations, Mike.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Was it kind of anticlimactic the more he kept winning as he got to the end?
No, it made it more fun for me.
Well, I would say the only anticlimactic thing was they were trying to make it look like maybe Carolyn would have won and everything.
Right, yeah.
And, after the third vote for Will, okay, all the rest are going to be for Will. I mean, excuse me, the third vote for Mike.
Mike,
They're
yeah.
all going to be for Mike. So I like it more when you're really not sure, and I was pretty sure.
Yep.
I wish he had taken a poll, even though these delayed polls, I think Dwaine even mentioned on Facebook, they're not as accurate as we know they would be. I would have liked to have known what the vote would have been if Mike hadn't been there and it had been Rodney, Carolyn, and Will.
That would have been good.
Yeah. All right, so before y'all debate about Dan, it may actually come up in the feedback. So why don't we do feedback, and then if it doesn't, y'all could do your fun debate at the end.
Debate Dan? What are you talking about?
I saw. All right, so we have some feedback tonight. First is Bobby, and he wrote, a new Mike fan. Ever since the auction, I have been saying that this season can finally start once Mike is not immune. I was not a fan of him. I really did think Rodney or Carolyn would have been better winners. But now, at the very end, I am satisfied with a Mike win. All I wanted from Mike at the end was self-awareness. I wanted him to admit that his social game was very bad, and he did that. I wanted him to admit that the auction was the turning point, and he did that. I wanted him to admit that he gave everyone every reason in the world to distrust him in the game, and he did that. Paraphrasing him, he said, at the auction, I stopped playing for 2 seconds, unquote. And I appreciate his awareness that it only takes 2 seconds to screw everything up. He did not make the excuses that I thought he was going to make, and that is ultimately what won me over on the Mike bandwagon. While I don't think someone who is immune for 6 straight weeks is good for the show from an entertainment point of view, that is not really Mike's fault. If they wanted it badly enough, they should have just won a challenge. Congrats to Mike. Bobby.
See, now, when someone's immune when they're by themselves, I actually like that because it makes the group turn on themselves. We're getting that a week before an easy vote. Instead of Mike being the easy vote, we're getting the drama between the group that's not supposed to turn on each other yet. So I actually thought that was a good part of the season.
Yeah.
And frankly, if Mike had not won immunity like he did, we were watching a straight pagonging, Haley and then Joe, then Jen, then Shireen, then it would have been Mike, and then we would have moved on to the 6 eating themselves.
Yeah.
We needed something to break that up.
Right. On YouTube, Joust Mike makes this comment. Jen's jury speech reflects the viewer's sentiments regarding the bitter jury members. Shireen's speech about the animal parallel was funny and an homage to the Sioux Hawk. She wasn't trying to give the best jury speech ever. She just wanted it to be fun, is what he says. So
okay.
That is
Yeah.
Joust Mike.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so next we have Steve, and David is going to read Steve.
This is not Steve Helling. He did
Okay,
not.
I was really confused.
Sorry,
What am I
Steve.
supposed to be
Because
doing?
I would have written it for you, and you know what it would have said. So anyway, hey D&D, I liked the finale last night. I'm very happy that Mike pulled it out with the many wins. Wow, how many? 5, 6? It was 5, right? 5 in a row. I was very concerned that Carolyn was in the final. I really thought that Carolyn had a good shot to win. Happy I was wrong. At the final immunity challenge with the stairs, Carolyn looked like she had a shot to win it. Side note, these challenges are amazing. I think it really sucks that the Survivor crew makes these great challenges with so much detail and they only use them once in a show. Love to see Dan upset that Mike had the immunity necklace. Question, when they do the family visits, aren't they at the end of the game, or they aren't at the end of the game? I thought these were done much earlier. I agree. I think they usually have been around, what, 6 or 7 that they usually do the family visits. Like 3 episodes from the end, or 2 maybe, instead of the last one. I like to see everyone with their game face on, see the real side of the survivors. I like to see everyone without their game face on, see the real side of the survivors. I was thinking that Jeff was going to choose another family member. All that was just for one family member visit. And yeah, I think it had to do with the reward challenge. I mean, the immunity advantage that was won. I mean, he's not going to pick somebody else to get that as well. Funny that Jeff called Rodney out during the challenge. Rodney helping everyone out. Mike must love to hear that. 3-on-1. At the finale, I see Jeff calling out Dan. Dan must not have been too comfortable at the finale with the Q&A from Jeff. Myself, I wanted more finale. I know they had to do the second cast for Survivor, but I like to hear more from this season. The second season will have their own finale. I see Kelly made the second chance season, which is great news. Did Shireen say she made her first million at 25?
Mm-hmm.
What? If she makes the finale next season, then they might not give her the check. LOL. Casting for next season, I'm very surprised that Rodney wasn't chosen to be in the second chance. I feel that he is good for Survivor, the good and the bad. Maybe he said no. This season wasn't the best, but Mike's winning the last 5 to 6 challenges helped save it. Looking forward to next season. Maybe Kelly will win it. We'll win it all. Wow, that would be cool. Enjoy your summer, Steve.
Kelly.
Yeah, I literally jumped up in my living room, arms in the air, and cheered for Kelly. Also, when Cass got it.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I'm partial to them being on the season. I definitely voted for them every time. So, all right, next we have Andy Westover, D&D Facebook Group Fantasy Challenge Commissioner. What a great finale and a great winner this was. Throughout the season, we all seemed to question the quality of this season, especially after the preseason, quote, greatest ever, unquote, comments. Though it will not likely be remembered that way, it should be remembered as a good season, though just not in a typical way. During many seasons, there are a lot of changes and course corrections for the apparent story plot. As a recent and perhaps extreme example, in San Juan del Sur, Josh was seen as a season favorite and in control of the game, and then he was eliminated. A new story arc began, and Jeremy was the guy that looked like he could go all the way. For an episode or two, then he too was eliminated. Other arcs began and ended, and then Natalie came on strong in the end and got the win. There was not an underlying story threaded throughout the season, but mostly a series of mostly disconnected arcs. Fortunately, with Natalie, there were at least enough little things threaded throughout the season for her to be a reasonably satisfying winner. I have made some of these analogies in the past, but this season was more like a story arc in a movie. Act 1. The hero is placed in a new and unfamiliar environment and struggles to adjust. He makes some mistakes, but ultimately bands together with some like-minded friends and overcomes some initial foes. Change, aka the swap or merge, looms on the horizon. However, which could again threaten our hero. Act number 2. New and more mighty foes emerge. The hero again struggles to adapt at times, but sticks through with his friends and adds some new allies along the way. They fight off the insurgents and threaten their kingdom and achieve apparent peace, though rumors arise of potential spies or traitors in their midst, with an evil plot to overthrow the hero. Act 3. The hero's friends turn on him as he fears. His only remaining allies get tortured and raked through the coals as they are destroyed one by one. It seems as though there is no hope or chance to overcome a seemingly insurmountable enemy. Perhaps the dark side will triumph over the light. Act 4. The hero, now virtually alone, back to the wall, no support, no one to rely on but his own heroic strength and abilities, uses those strengths to conquer and vanquish his foes and emerge victorious. This story was so deeply entrenched in this season that I think we all felt it was too good to be true and unlikely to pan out in a satisfying way. Mike, we assumed, would likely go the way of a Jeremy or a Josh, and someone else would emerge at seemingly the last minute. Carolyn might have won. We may have even been fine with that, but the ultimate emotional payoff would not have been the same. There were dark times that were almost unbearable to endure, but ultimately make this a satisfying and even gleeful conclusion to the story. In the end, Roy Hobbs hit out the lights, Han Solo returned to the Death Star, and Andy Dufresne escaped from Shawshank Prison, only to be captured recently. All is well, and this season should be remembered fondly. Thanks for a great season, guys, and I'm looking forward to the next season and the likely countless hours of anticipation and discussion that will precede it. Andy from Cameron, Missouri.
Thank you, Andy.
All right. Apparently, Will sent his in on time, but we didn't make it to our feedback email. So I'm going to read Will the Giant Ninja.
Not the Will who played the season, right?
That's right. That was your cue, Steve, to say who's Will and why do we care?
Oh, that Will. Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, right. What's up, guys? It's Will from Wonder Lake again, a.k.a. the Giant Ninja. What day is it? I think it's Thursday night. Survivor was on last night? I'm kind of confused about that because I'm still recovering from the triple overtime marathon of a game on Tuesday. Longest game in Hawks franchise history, and we won twice. Duck hunt, baby. Full disclosure, I'm not watching your podcast right now. I'm watching Game 3. Sorry, I'll listen tomorrow. I promise. Yeah, I wish I was watching Game 3. So the season is over, mercifully. And now we can look back and try to figure out what Probst saw in it. Like I said last week, I think he saw hidden immunity plays and Mike's immunity run to the win. For Jeff Probst, that's a fantastic season. For those of us who watch for strategy, it was, well, interesting. What do y'all think? Let's stop a moment and talk about Probst's preseason hype. And did it live up to that hype, or did it live up to it to Probst, but not to us? What do y'all think?
Well, I'm one of the people who Probst actually told me that this was going to be just the most fantastic season that there's ever been and just amazing and whatever.
Right.
And, you know, it's so hard to read Jeff because he told me that with kegging on, he was like, yeah, I think people will like this season. And I thought, okay, well, we got a dud here. Maybe next season will be better. And it was fantastic. This one, he talked up so much that it couldn't have risen to the level of what he told us it was going to be. And frankly, I think it was an okay season. I don't think it was fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. How about you, David?
I put it around the middle, just above the middle. I don't rank seasons for a reason because I never keep track of them all that well. I think Probst wasn't sure how people were going to take to Tony. I think that was part of the Kagayan uncertainty, if they were going to like him or not or get along, because he had some rough moments as well, right, compared to Mr. Nice Guy. But I think Mike is just one of those people that you like. One of the castaways asked me why I picked him to win preseason. They were like, what did you see in him preseason that we didn't see until later? And I told him, I said, he just seems like an all-around American guy, just a good old guy. And they were like, okay, well, tell me what you think when it's over, But, I mean, Mike is a very likable guy. He's honest, he's straightforward, he's blunt, he's just going to tell you what he feels, and he's going to apologize when he's wrong.
Right. So then, do you think that Will is right in his assessment that the reason why Probst liked the season so much was because of the winner, Mike's immunity run, and the, I don't know if Will said this, but all of the immunity idols being played well? Do you think that is why, and maybe even the controversy stuff? Do you think that's why he thought it was so good?
I think that played a part because Terry Dietz didn't win, Ozzy didn't win. All these big alpha males that do these immunity runs, how many of them really get to the end that are popular, good guys, like Ozzy and like Terry Dietz, and then all of a sudden Mike does it and he pulls it off. Right. So I think that would be like Probst would be like a check-off list for Probst.
Yeah. All right, let's continue. Make no mistake, I was pulling for Mike. Ordinarily, I don't much care who wins the challenges, but even into the final episode, I was invested in each challenge. I wanted Rodney to keep losing rewards. I wanted Rodney to lose the fire-making challenge, and I wanted Mike to win his way to the million. And I got all three. Now, to be clear, I don't dislike Rodney. Actually, truth be told, he was one of the more interesting players. But there came a point when too much was made out of his not having gone on a reward, and I wanted to see a player go the whole way without any rewards. That didn't end up happening because he didn't go all the way. But the fact that his failure to go all the way was due to his losing another challenge more than made up for the fact.
Okay, you know what? And I agree, Rodney was interesting, but you know why? Because he reminded me of people from Borneo that didn't know what they were doing. And that's one reason I thought Rodney was entertaining to people, because he really didn't know what he was doing. I hate to say it, no matter how many seasons he watched the day before he left, you know, there were times where he really didn't know what was going on out there. And to me, that's what made Borneo so great. These people were fresh. They just didn't know what to expect and what was going to happen.
Yeah.
There's more to it than that. Because there are times that there are people who don't know how to play. They've never seen it, and they're no fun to watch. They
Right.
don't know what they're doing. They clearly they're just not fun to watch. He actually, if Rodney had been one of those people who had watched a lot of seasons, he might not have played as well as he played this one, because Survivor is actually something that's sort of instinctual to somebody like Rodney.
Mhm.
And I think he was the type of non-viewer or non-Survivor fan that we want. Somebody
Yes.
who doesn't know how to play the game, but is a quick study and kind of has a head for it. And he did. He certainly didn't have the stamina for it, but poor Rodney, but he did have the head for it.
I agree. He had the adaptability to jump into something and try and make it work, more so than someone that just returned for another season. But anyway, yes. Sorry, just throwing that out there.
What's a sub-alliance, by the way? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like an anti-aircraft or something like that.
I don't know what you talk about, this sub-alliance thing. I never heard nothing like that before. He continues, so I have just a few final thoughts on this season, and then we'll turn the page to Second Chance. Dear Mike, congrats, brother. You weren't the reason the season turned my stomach. You were fun to watch the whole way, even if your social games seemed to rub a few of your former blues the wrong way. I'm glad you patched things up with Danimal, and I'm glad you earned his jury vote. But most importantly, I'm glad you provided a Survivor first for us. You won your game on challenges first and foremost. That's a new way for us to experience the game, and I'm glad to have experienced it. Number 2, Dear Danimal, I've been pulling for you all season. I've defended you, I've laughed with you, and I've cringed for you. But the past 7 days have not been your best. You needed a PR guy to help you manage your exit interviews. You obviously angered someone over at CBS in a huge way for them to dedicate a 7-minute segment of a shortened reunion to proving you wrong. Oh, brother, oi to the vey. I wish things had turned out different for you in the show. I feel for you. You got a terrible edit, but you didn't do yourself any favors.
Actually, it was 8 minutes long, but go ahead.
Yeah, 8 minutes. Number 3, Dear Rodney, happy birthday, yo. Question, why do you call your father bro? Also, why other Will? Did you really think he played the best game? Really? Number 4, Dear Shireen, yes, other Will's apology was insincere. Yes, it was too little too late. Yes, it was awkward and ill-conceived. All that being said, be the bigger person. Show grace. Don't have your failure to accept an apology be the story. You could have come across as the much better person last night, in my opinion. But in my opinion, you didn't. You came across as someone who was as unlikable as Dan and other Will have been saying you are. I think the better move would have been to say you accepted his apology. Even if you didn't, maybe you need to consult with Danimal's PR guy as well. Number 5, Dear Jen, way to call the superfans out during the final tribal council question. That was great. Bravo. And now we turn the page to season 31. Second Chance. I voted every day. I had my favorites and I shared them in the Facebook group. stwdd.com/Facebook. Jim Rice, there are a few I'm sad to see I missed the cut. Jim Rice, Max Dawson, T-Bird, Shane. And a few I'm not so excited to see again. Keith, Wu, Kimmy, and Wigglesworth. You know, Kelly Wigglesworth is about as excited about playing again as you are watching her play again. That's that's what I get from her. But for the most part, I think we're in for a nice mix of players. Dear Vetus, oh my gosh, is he going to name all these? Okay, good, only 5. Dear Vetus, I was going to be continued next month. Dear Vetus, loved you on Blood vs. Water. You were my favorite player that season. I can't wait to see what you can get done with this group. Unfortunately, everyone has seen some of your game already, and you may find it difficult to find people who trust you. You'll need them so you can backstab them. Good luck.
You
Dear
realize
Werner.
that these people are like not watching the podcast,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah, I know.
They're
I know.
not really.
No,
Okay.
no. Dear Varner, your enthusiasm is palpable. I can't wait to watch you. It's a different game than the one you played. You played with in the leather helmet era. I hope your game can adjust. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do in an all-star season. Dear Sierra, you voted out your mom. That seems to be the only thing anyone has to say about you. Ugh. That was interesting, but so overhyped. It's ridiculous. Your alliance voted out your mom. You stayed with them, and your vote wasn't even needed. You just wanted to show your loyalty. The move that I remember you was forcing rocks at 6. True, you should have started playing earlier, aligning with Hayden at Final 7, but you took your game into your own hands, and I respect that. I hope you can make some things happen this time. Dear Kelly, Mikey is very excited that you made it. That's his little son, by the way. So am I. When I told him that you'd made the cast, he jumped and clapped. He noted, she thinks I'm adorable. I think you've got a new fan. Good luck out there. Dear Cass, I love me some Cass. That's it for this season. See y'all on the flip side. Go Hawks. Will at the Giant Ninja. Good job, Will. All right, so in the reunion show, if I believe Jeff Pittman put on his website that 22 minutes of the reunion show was dedicated to season 30, and of those 22 minutes, 8 were devoted to Dan.
And that's 22 minutes of actual footage, not counting commercials or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
8 minutes on Dan. Was Dan set up? Did Dan make CBS mad? What happened?
Okay. Well, that's a good question now, isn't it?
By the way, David and Steve have complete opposite views.
Mhm.
So I am going to sit back and say very little.
All right. I'm going to preface this by saying I don't know Dan. I don't know him at all. I had one conversation with him over the phone, wrote a story for people.com about him. I do not know him. But I've got to say that when you say that your edit was bad, and when you say even more specifically that, you know, that comment that he made about Rodney's mother was in the middle, and this is a quote, in the middle of a bunch of Yo Mama jokes, in the middle of a bunch of Yo Mama jokes, that had better be true. So when they pull all when they pull all the footage and come to find out that's not what happened, there's no shame in saying, I made a regrettable joke that, you know, look, all of us have said a joke at some point. I mean, Dwayne has done it about 20 times tonight. You make a joke and it just falls flat.
See, Dwayne, that's how you get a laugh.
There you go. Lesson learned, lesson learned.
But so, thank you. All he had to say was, yeah, it was I was trying to make a joke. It didn't come off right. I had to apologize for it. Oops. But Dan doesn't want to give up even that, which is unfortunate because, you know, everybody who I've spoken to who played the game with Dan says, you know, he probably has a good heart. He just can't be wrong. He just has to be, you know, defend himself. And it's unfortunate because I think he's doing himself no favors in the way that he's talking about the show after the show.
Right.
I feel like Dan Aykroyd and Jane Curtin going counterpoint and calling him a name before I start my line. But no.
Go for it. Call me what you want, but just keep in mind I'm a writer.
Well,
I know all the words.
Well, my thought is, and only because I've read and talked to things, but at the same time, showing the minute and 20 seconds before that phrase is uttered, to me has no time reference when you talk about stuff during a day of Survivor. And I was under the impression that they talked about this because he said it in an interview, that they were talking these mama jokes during that day. He didn't say within the minute of when I made the comment. He talks about when the day. And I don't know this to be factual. I don't know if this is just what I've read and been told. But to pull out, you know, first thing Probe says is, we want to talk about your comments about women. And the first thing he does is Dan apologizes to Shireen. You know, he does it, and I like what he said about I don't care what you think of me or you think of me, but I care about what she thinks. So he made a grand public apology to Shireen, and then he asked, is he offensive to women, or is he sexist towards women? He's like, no, I'm married to a woman. You know, in the same sense, if that's me, that's me. And then he pulls out, well, I got footage of what you said that counteracts everything you said in an exit interview. So I'm going to show the 85 seconds leading up to your comment that proves you are never saying yo mama jokes. And when, in a sense, and this is just hypothesizing, that they could have been saying these jokes all morning, and all of a sudden Dan comes up and lays in the shelter 2 hours later and makes the same joke, which was way out of line. It was out of line, especially to who it was to, and it was out of time frame. So this is a guy who's out on Survivor, not the guy who's sitting in his camper, air conditioned, eating all the meals that he wants to eat. But it was a bad thing to say, and I think the fact that Dan ended up just bowing his head and saying, "Okay, I misremembered what I said, so I guess I take back everything I said in the exit interviews," which is too late now, but he ended it on that note. But he was not, like Dwaine said at the beginning, don't bite the hand that just put you on TV, because they're going to have the last word. They've got all the footage that they're going to show. Of course, Dan couldn't pull out any footage. No. Jeff pulls out the minute and a half that happened before the comment. So, I mean, I'm not defending Dan for what he said, because he said bad thing, he said the wrong thing, he said a lot of wrong things. But at the same time,
then own
you know,
it.
you talk about out of context. Probst plays 80 seconds before the comment.
Own it and say, yeah, yikes, wow, I shouldn't have said that. That was a mistake. Don't say, oh, it was in the middle of joke, and then don't say that Rodney laughed it off, because Rodney didn't laugh it off.
Yeah,
Rodney said that's not cool. He told in exit interviews that Rodney laughed it off. Now, look, I don't remember what I said yesterday, so there's a chance that Dan misremembered it or whatever. But there has to be a point where you have to be able to say, I was wrong, I shouldn't have said that, and that was, and it can't be after you've been shown the footage. You can't say, because whether they were making the jokes 2 hours earlier, that's not what he was saying. That's not what he said in exit interviews. That's not what he alleged. And the other thing is, my one conversation with Dan that I've had was, you know, and it was good-natured. It really was. I called him out on his flippers never win thing. He's like, I stand by that. I'm like, what about Vesepia? He's like, did she win? I'm like, yes, she won. No, what? Yes, she won $1 million. And he's like, huh, who is she? And I was like, she beat an elite, and okay. So Superfan doesn't know that. And so then I'm like, and then there's Sandra. He's like, well, she's different. She's a different situation. I'm like, okay. How about Danny Boatwright? And he's like, oh, okay, I'm not, but I stand by what I'm saying. And in a way, I could have brought up Parvati. I could have brought up Denise. I could have, anyway. And Dan would be well served in life, and especially with media, with CBS, with Survivor, with editors, with all of them, to not just doggedly hold on to something just because you can't allow yourself to be wrong. And that's what that is the thing. He does not want to be wrong.
Right.
And sometimes we're all wrong. I'm probably wrong right now. And so he's done himself no favors. And the last thing you want to do is tick off Jeff Probst.
Yeah.
You do not want to do that.
Right.
And he did. I mean, he told me that Jeff had called him before the exit interviews, and he let Jeff have it. He tore him a new one and went up and down, and you gave me a bad edit and everything. That's what he told me, and I printed that. And I know Jeff reads my stuff. I believe me, I know he does. And Jeff didn't think that was cool, that he was telling people, I told Jeff Probst off. They say you don't pick a fight with somebody who buys their ink by a barrel, and you don't pick a fight with a host of a very, very popular top 10 TV show who is going to have the last word.
Right.
And he needs to not do that. And he played it wrong. He just played it wrong.
You know, I mentioned earlier today, and I don't remember if you agreed or not, but I kind of felt like Dan was defending himself as the accused. Probst was the prosecuting attorney, and Probst brought out evidence that he failed to bring up pretrial. And Dan was completely caught off guard, and I'm just kind of glad that Dan, like I said, okay, I misremembered. So we'll just leave it at that. I don't think he carried on that part of it too long. Once Probst said, here's the video, now what you got to say, okay? Because I'm Probst and I'm going to win. I have the footage, you don't, and here's what it says. And he just kind of said, okay, I misremembered.
Right.
Well, Dan, I know I'm supposed to not be talking, but to me, what I saw.
I'm sorry, you are not supposed to be talking right now.
Well, I mean, I have my own thoughts. I mean, we've all said stupid stuff that if a camera had been there and then they showed it on national television, you know, we'd be the worst people in the world. But but what's interesting is that what Will did to me was so much worse than what Dan did. But because of how Dan handled it after he was eliminated, he made Probst so mad that Probst to me looked very angry, a very controlled angry, but an angry. I am going to get you angry.
I was waiting for Probst to smile and say, "Come on, Dan. You know, we've all seen it. We've all heard you." But no, not a smile. Not until he brought out that stupid birthday cake for Rodney and his lack of a birthday celebration.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that Jeff is very protective of the brand. We know that Jeff is, we also know that Jeff can be a little bit of a control freak. Sorry, Jeff, if you're listening, but it's the truth.
If you're listening, awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, but all that to say, I get why Dan was cast on the show. I really do, and he could be the most wonderful guy in the world, but he did himself no favors, and I can't feel bad for him. I cannot feel bad for him for going and telling People Magazine and not Us Weekly, nobody talks to them, and Entertainment Weekly, and Rob has a podcast, and you guys and everybody telling them, oh, this is what I said, and I didn't mean this, and it's not what happened. And you've got to know that you're talking to the people who have the footage.
Right.
And it's too bad. It's too bad for him, and he should have known this as a super fan. He should have known what he was getting himself into. He should have known, how that yes, you are leaving your reputation to a bunch of editors that don't know you, don't like you, and don't owe you anything.
Right.
And once that happens and you get a bad edit, as he likes to say, you need to not go around and complain that I got a bad edit.
Right. He would have
You
been
rolled the
much
dice,
better
you
off.
lost.
Right. He would have been much better off had he not, complained about his edit. In fact, I remember, who was the first female villain? What's her name?
Jerry?
Who?
Jerry Manthey.
Jerry Matheny.
Yeah, Jerry brought up edit on a Survivor finale, and Probst goes, don't even go there, And so yeah, Dan would have been better off just let it go, and just let it pass.
And in fairness, here's the thing: Jerry did get a bad edit, and a lot of people have told me that over the years that she was not nearly as bad as they made it sound.
Right.
Well, what was even worse was that we only got 22 minutes, and we hardly even got to Will and Shireen. That felt so rushed, like going through the checkout line, the express lane. But the funny thing was, out of all this, the raw footage, I would so watch that raw footage. I thought it was great. They're just mumbling, random talking.
Yeah.
You can barely hear this person. You got to hear Rodney kind of curse at Dan, saying, oh, you in the shelter, and then Dan goes back at him. I would so watch that raw footage. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to say one more Dan thing, then I'll shut up about it. Yeah.
That was one more Dan thing, is what he said. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, that's what. Oh, sorry. Potty mouth here.
No.
The bottom line is that when you do a show like Survivor and everything, I get that it can be frustrating, but I'll tell you, I have spoken to all the people, every single person on this cast, some of them more than once, and not one of them has said to me, in any time that we talk about Dan, yeah, he was like a ray of sunshine out there, and I don't know what happened in the editing room. Nobody has said that. So where there is smoke, there has to be some fire. And again, I could love hanging out with Dan. Maybe I don't know. I've never met him, but none of his tribesmates have leapt to his defense, saying no, he was edited badly. The only person who's saying that is Dan.
Right.
All right, I'll stop.
Okay, so even
Love
if
you,
everything
Dan, if you're listening, sorry.
Hey, it does. So, but what bothers me, and I think it bothers David. And David, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but people make it so personal, and they start talking about what a horrible person he is, and he gets bad mouthed out on the street and things like that. It's just people take it too far, People just really take it too far.
They talk about how the way he talked, and then they turn around and talk about him in the similar fashion to the way he talked about other people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you don't like him, that's fine. Say you don't like him and then move on. But he's on our TV show. He's on my TV, and he's on the show. So I'm going to watch him and comment how I want to comment. But it just seems like people were getting so irate, And I'm not just talking about our Facebook group. I'm talking about Twitter and everywhere else and all this other mess.
And that's uncalled for. Yeah.
I agree.
Right. And it just, and so it makes a person like me have a little more sympathy for him. Because, honestly, the whole "your mama is a whore" comment, yeah, he probably shouldn't have said it. Yeah, he shouldn't have said it. But he was in the camp, and they were all messing around. He completely forgot that the cameras were. You're out there that long, you forget the cameras are on. And yeah, sometimes when guys are alone, they say junk like that to each other.
Not me. No, never, ever.
Oh, but we recorded our pre-podcast airing, so we have the footage. Let's show the raw footage of Steve signing on.
No, Steve did nothing wrong. I'm just saying, people making a huge deal about this, and it's just, to me, I just wish that they would leave it alone. But at the same time, if he's caught in a lie, but even then, I have sympathy for that, because that was one time. Memories they don't stay in sequential order from 70 days ago, So I don't have a problem with him watching the footage and going, you're right, I misremembered. But I also agree with you that he shouldn't have defended himself so 100% sure that that's not how it happened. This is how it happened. I remember. He probably shouldn't have done that, because he remembered wrong. So it just made him look bad, and now people are calling him liars.
Well, that's it. Well, it's as though Jeff wanted to talk about his comments, which he claimed were out of context, and then Jeff pulls out one situation that doesn't line up with Dan's side of the story. So all these other things that Dan was talking about, and I don't know, it was. I didn't have a problem with Jeff calling him out on it, because he called out CBS and Probst on it during this interview, so I didn't have a problem with that. It just seemed mingled up when it happened.
Okay.
But I was ready to move on.
Yeah, I was too, and I am now. So.
And you know what? I hope to have a time to talk to Dan at some point in life, and figure out what he's like outside of Survivor.
Right. Oh, well, now see, we're going to do a movie talk podcast with him soon. I don't know how soon.
There you go.
We have a movie talk with D&D podcast, and he'll pick a movie, and we'll do a podcast with him. And I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be fun. He's going to be a fun guy to hang around with and talk about movies with, just like anybody would be. So, but anyway. So how about the new cast? Are you happy with the cast, Steve?
Yeah, more or
less. 31.
More or less. I would like to see T-Bird in there. I am surprised that she didn't make it, because I think that super fans really like her. Other than that, I like Sabrina a lot. I get why she didn't make the show, which is too bad. But I like her, and I was sad for her that she didn't make it. But I think she'll be fine.
Tell me why you get that she didn't make the show.
She was neither of the people from One World made it. One World was not a well-received season.
Okay.
And I think, I think that she was a good narrator for that season, but I just think that the season just didn't work for a lot of people, and so she didn't stand out. Like, she didn't stand out as the villain like Abby Maria, or frankly as the hero, the plucky hero like Tasha, who's trying to win all these. She didn't have that storyline. She just had, this is my alliance, and we're going to the final three, and they did.
Right. So why do you think Kelly made it? And it's interesting because they put those 4, I guess, bikini girls on the same line, and then Kelly and the other girl made it. So Kelly and Monica.
Other girl.
Monica.
I'm thrilled for Kelly. I'm a little bit surprised. I didn't see her making it, but it could be just as simple as, well, she did get the top billing on People.com.
That probably did it.
I will tell you that the numbers of people who went to People.com and saw that were pretty high. So who knows? I'll just do that.
Well, but another lady on there that was on your top 3 didn't make it.
Who was my other one?
Wasn't it? Well, who were your 3 on your?
Oh, Teresa T-Bird didn't make it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't know. Look, I'm not.
Well, I was surprised.
I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not accusing anybody. But would it surprise me to find out that they needed an extra bikini girl, and so somebody else sort of got bumped, even if they were in the top 10? Maybe.
Are you borrowing Andy's hat?
No, I just work with these people.
He's flat out saying.
Okay, here's the thing. If T-Bird made it instead of one of the bikini girls, we'd have one bikini girl on the season.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess, yeah.
I'm just saying that that's always a possibility.
Right.
Because it's always a possibility, but I don't want to take it away from anybody who did make the show, because people campaigned and they made it. So.
Right.
Okay.
Were you surprised both? I'm sorry, David. Go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish your line, because I got to.
Were you surprised both Abby and Cass made it?
No.
Okay.
No. They both have recency bias. Philippines was a well-regarded season. Abby was the Brazilian, the blistering babe from Brazil. I get it. And Cass, there was no way Cass wasn't going to make it. Of course, she has to make it.
Yeah.
I think CBS and whoever else involved missed a golden opportunity to have an extra week of an episode in high ratings, because I hated that this cut into Worlds Apart's finale.
Right.
I hated that Worlds Apart finale cut into Survivor Second Chance's announcing. I would have loved to have seen the voting start last week. Probst talks about it this week, and it goes one more week. And next week they do a 30-season, not review, but celebration. They just had 30 seasons. Have a 30-minute celebration of it. Even while we're voting for our second chance survivors, have us vote our favorite, story or our favorite season. Rank the seasons or something. This is how you voted. And now here in the last 30 minutes are your castaways. Do it American Idol style. I don't care. But gosh, it felt so rushed. I know it was the spirit of you're in, get on the bus, and that was cool. Do that for the last 10 minutes of the episode. But take your time and it's 30 seasons. Celebrate 30 seasons. Do something with it, but do an extra episode. Don't take away from the other season, and don't cut into the next season. What a great way to start a season with this announcement, but take more time to do it. I really thought that was a missed opportunity.
And I loved how Jeff was like half Ryan Seacrest and then half Oprah. Like, you get a buff, and you get a buff, and you get a buff. Not you. No, you don't get one.
Will you get to be on? No, not this time.
I did feel I felt bad for T-Bird. I also felt bad for Jim Rice. Devastated. I felt so bad for him.
He was almost standing up, I thought.
I don't know. I just was like, oh,
that's
this
rough.
Is brutal. So,
yeah, that was really rough. Let's see. We got a couple of comments here real quick. Joust Mike says, good job on the podcast, guys. The Dirty 30 will be remembered. I will be tuning in for next season. So that was Joust Mike. And then just posted on Twitter, Survivor Talk, when you have Dan on, please review the TV show Flipper.
He tweeted a picture today, and I'm pretty sure it was towards Steve, but it said I've recanted or rethought about it or changed my mind. Flippers do win or something. It's a picture of a dolphin flipping in the ocean.
There you go.
Well, there's, you know what? No hard feelings with Dan.
Wow.
So,
all right, man. Thank you for being on the show tonight, Steve.
thank you. Is it midnight? Oh my goodness!
No, don't look at the clock. Don't look at the clock.
I'm gonna be exhausted tomorrow, and it's all your fault.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be. I'm off tomorrow. Oh, that's cool.
Oh. Well, we do want to say a couple things before we sign off. Thanks to our monthly patrons and those of you who use our links to shop Amazon. You help us finance the show, and we really appreciate it. We couldn't do the podcast without you. Go to our website, stwdd.com, and check out our blogs by Shayna and by Alex. Both are going to be writing next season, probably even during the summer. So that's going to be pretty cool. If you do want to shop Amazon, just do stwdd.com/Amazon, or if you're in Canada, Amazon CA. Check out our Facebook group. A lot of fun we have. David, are we up to 700 members now on our Facebook group?
I have no idea.
I don't know, but it's a lot of fun.
I haven't been on our Facebook group too much lately.
Yeah, I didn't get on there very much today, but easier way to get there now, stwdd.com/Facebook. Steve's part of our Facebook group, and every once in a while says something on there. That's fun. Follow us on Twitter, @Survivor_Talk, and check out our other podcast, Movie Talk with D&D. We need to be doing another movie here pretty soon, David.
691 members.
691. You could be number 700. And you will win a Happy 700 post. That's exciting, isn't it, Steve?
Yes.
Steve's going to leave and come back to be number 700.
Yeah, that's what he's going to do.
Yes, because that's what I have time to do. Sit there and just keep clicking to make sure. Can I promote something real quick?
Oh, please do, yes.
Okay. Starting in August, I will have a new TV show on the Reels Network. It's called Murder Made Me Famous. It's a crime TV show where we do reenactments and interviews with high-profile crimes that you may have seen before. I'm the host and the narrator of the show, and a side note, I don't know if he's watching, but Max Dawson helped me get this gig.
Awesome.
Wow.
But yes, I'm the host of the show. We have a 6-episode commitment, and if you guys keep watching, then I'll get another 13 episodes, and I can pay my kids' way through college.
Awesome. when is it? Boy. Yeah, I'm stepping out on faith in college. Oh my goodness. When does it start again?
It starts the last week of August.
Okay.
And you can follow me on Twitter. I haven't officially announced it on Twitter. I need to get around to it. But you can follow me on Twitter at Steve Helling, and then believe me, I will not let you miss the premiere date of my own TV show.
And the name of the show again is?
It's called Murder Made Me Famous, which is
Murder
the
Made Me
most fantastic
Famous.
name for a show. Yes.
Wow. And you get to host it. How cool is that?
I get to host it. Yes, I do. Yeah, and I've been taping. I've taped the first 2 episodes, and June 8th and 9th I taped 3 more. So
awesome. Are you allowed to tell us who some of the murderers are?
Yes, we have Scott Peterson. We have he'll be the first one. Jodi Arias. We have the Menendez brothers. We have Drew Peterson. We have Joran Vandersloot from Natalie Holloway. And then the 6th one will probably be Charles Manson.
Wow, that'd be a big one.
I'm all about crime stories.
That's a 2 to 3 hour episode.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it's a lot to fit into an hour episode, but
which is really what, like 43 minutes, right?
It's 43 minutes total. Yeah. So actually, it's 44 minutes total on that one. So.
Well, and that's on the Reels Network.
Yes, it is. And believe me, if you follow me on Twitter, I will make sure that anybody will get to see my show.
Yes.
I mean, it's like the show starring Steve Helling.
Yeah, right. So, watch it, because Steve won't be one of those hosts that stands there very stiff. And then Charles Manson looked out the window.
I can be animated. We can be talking about murder, and I can still be animated.
Yes.
On next week's episode, as I mentioned on Survivor Talk with D&D,
Yes.
we're going to be talking.
Oh yeah, right. Steve's gonna do that.
Or
Yeah.
better yet, I'm just waiting for one of these seasons to go bad, and then and somebody just lose it on the island with their machete, and then I've got a new episode of my own show.
Oh
I
my
thought you were going to say I'm just waiting for one of you two to kill each other, and then I'll have a
Yeah.
show.
That too. It does. I'm not picky.
That's why we live in different states.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's why we live so far apart.
Thank you for letting me promote my thing.
Absolutely, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Remember, y'all, if you're still listening, I'm going to be in Florida next week. Give me a buzz if you live in Florida, anywhere near Kissimmee, and know which
I can
beach I
walk
should
to
go
Kissimmee. You know that, right?
You live in Florida?
You're kidding, right?
Oh wow,
Oh, I
really?
don't remember where you live. Why?
Oh, my
Why would I remember where he lives, David?
All right, we'll talk about that offline.
Talks about it all
right.
the time.
We will talk about it after we get off the air. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you.
Shop Amazon, become a patron, help me buy my Monster drinks. Have a great night. See you, everybody.
See ya.
Okay.
Boom.